All right, welcome everyone. We will give us one more minute to get started. We have a packed agenda today, so we're going to I'm going to fly over a lot of content today, and start right away. Greetings, everyone online. Greetings from San Francisco. It's a sunny, hot day in California, and hope you all are having a great time wherever you are in the world. All right, I see a lot of people logging in. Thanks for calling in. All right, let's get started. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Cesar Escalante. I'm a registered architect based in San Francisco. And over the past 20 years, I work in a variety of different roles in architecture: designer, practitioner, technology manager, academic. But here at Autodesk, I serve as technical marketing manager for architecture, where I'm a spokesman of innovation of our portfolio of building products. My email is on the screen, so if you have a question to follow up, feel free to reach out. So today's session is being recorded. After this webinar, the recording will be sent to your email. It will be posted on YouTube and will be available in our forums. If you have any question today, type it in the question panel on the Zoom control panel. I'll try to address them during the Q&A session at the end. If I run short on Q&A time, please follow up with us at the QR code on the screen. Let's run a quick poll to get to know you better. So Amira, if you don't mind. What level of experience you have with Forma and Rhino? Maybe you're new to both Rhino and Forma. Maybe you use Rhino, but you don't use Forma. Maybe you're a Forma user, but you're not a Rhino user. Or maybe you use them both. All right, 75% participated. Okay, let me share the results here. So it looks like a lot of you are new for Rhino and Forma, and majority of you use Forma but not Rhino. About 26% use both. Now, to set the expectations straight from the beginning, this webinar is focused on interoperability workflows between Forma and Rhino. And if you're new to Rhino, this might not be the right webinar for you. Check McNeil webpage for a lot of introduction on Rhino. If you are new to Forma, I'm going to very quickly explain what Forma is, but we have dedicated resources that go in depth on what are all the capabilities in Forma. So feel free to check them afterwards. Today's agenda is really focused on the value of the interoperability plugin between Forma and Rhino, and some familiarity with both platforms is required. So I'll explain briefly what Forma is, how does the new Forma plugin for Rhino operate. I'll do a live demo on the fly and a quick QA session for technical questions you might have at the end. Very quickly, what is Forma? For those who are new to Forma, let me briefly explain. Forma is a cloud-based platform for the AEC industry that offers AI tools for early stage planning. So Forma empowers you to make informed, data-driven decisions, support intuitive modeling, and enable very efficient stakeholder collaboration. The main emphasis of Forma is on discover sustainability metrics from the very beginning to inform design solutions at the start of the design cycle. With Forma, it's very easy to set up your project using real-world data right away. The modeling tools in Forma makes conceptual design iterations very quick and simple. You can also enhance the out-of-the-box capabilities with a marketplace of third. Forma automatically tracks key metrics on area requirements and runs really quickly environmental analysis so that your team can focus on receiving real-based data that support sustainability goals. Now, the integration of Revit, Rhino, and even Dynamo support your connected workflows with other third parties outside of the Autodesk ecosystem. And the offering in the market of Forma today is centered on architectural work in early stage design, but it's evolving into a more broader platform that supports all the AECO sectors: architecture, engineering, construction, operations, across planning, design, construction, and operation phases. The ultimate goal of Autodesk is to present a unified cloud platform connecting software, tools, workflows, and people. Today, I'm just going to focus what's technically possible by connecting Forma and Rhino. But if you want to learn more about Forma, just follow the links that are posted in the chat panel, and thank Amira for posting those. All right, let's talk about the Forma plugin for Rhino. The Forma plugin for Rhino gives you direct interoperability between Rhino and Forma. You can move complex geometry from Rhino into Forma for quick analysis and environmental feedback. This connection helps you rapidly iterate different design options, combine parametric modeling with site studies, and improve the technical collaboration between concept design and environmental assessments. So this workflow is built to support data-driven decision-making and faster iteration, accelerating your design and your design solutions. Here's in a nutshell how the workflow is. We start by loading a geolocated site context from Forma directly into Rhino. This could be a one-time operations in a Rhino file. This import displays the site limits, the terrain, the surrounding context buildings, vegetation, roads, into your Rhino model. And then we have an iterative design process defining 4 different steps. First, you can develop your concept model inside Rhino. You choose Rhino is your preferred method for building conceptual design. You can use it. When you're ready to analyze it in Forma, you can send it to Forma using the Forma plugin. Step number 2, it's in Forma. You can analyze this model and receive technical feedback on environmental metrics like sunlight, wind, noise, embodied carbon. And then using this analysis data, you can identify issues and identify potential trade-offs. And the last step is once you identify, what issues are environmental issues your design is facing, you can refine your design in Rhino based on this data, revise the geometry, and repeat the cycle until you reach your project goals based on your environmental priorities. The idea is that at the end of the process, you can capture all and address all the issues, optimize the design, and present it to your stakeholders. And we have a tool in Forma called Forma Board, which is super useful for clear stakeholder communication. All right, let's get started. How do you get access to the plugin? You need a Rhino version 7 or 8 and a PC. Unfortunately, the plugin doesn't run on Macs. You can download the extension from the Forma Extensions tab and make sure that Rhino is closed during the installation. Once the plugin is ready, open Rhino, and you can just type Forma to launch the plugin. The installation takes just minutes. Then the first step is to load your site context. With just a matter of one click, you can load site data, including terrain, context, building, vegetation, roads, site limits, directly into Rhino. So this gives you the appropriate geodesical reference information that you need to get started a proposal in Rhino. The imported geometry or the link geometry into Forma are structured in different layers, so you can actually control what to make visible in Rhino. And if you already have a concept started in Rhino, you can bring your site and then move the geometry in the right location within the site boundaries. So let's jump into Rhino and let's jump into my screen here. And let me show you how to get started on that. So this is a site in Forma. I'm not going to walk you the process of creating a new one. We have plenty of tutorials online that show how to get started a site. But once you have a site and you have a boundary, you can install the extension. The extension is it's a third-party extension available in the extension panel. And then look for the you add an extension, and in the marketplace of different third-party add-ons, you will find the Forma plugin for Rhino. Here it is. You download it. It's an executable. I'm not going to do it because I already have installed it. But it just take a couple of minutes to download and install. Make sure that Rhino is closed before you launch it. After you do that, then the extension is ready to be used in the Rhino as a plugin. Let's snap here to the right, and I'm also going to here. So this is Rhino, and in order to get started, you just type Forma. This is the command that launches the plugin. The plugin, it's a single panel with different set of inputs. And what you need to do to load the context is to copy the URL of the proposal in Forma. In this case, I have this project, which is set up in Boston. It's made of many different proposals. I have one called Start, which basically just display the site with nothing on it. And then in Forma, I just paste the URL. It takes a few seconds for Forma to load the different proposals. This is the list of all the proposals in the project that mirror the list of proposals in the project. And by default, it will connect the active proposal into the default proposal value. And I load the site data. This is going to create a reference linked geometry of all the contextual information in the proposal accessible in the Rhino environment. The contextual data coming from Forma, it's organized in a simplified set of layers that includes the terrain, the buildings, the roads, the property boundaries. And you see how in just a matter of seconds, I have all the proposal context available in Rhino. And notice also that the site limit, which is a very important piece of information, is automatically imported and placed under a cluster of layers called Forma layers. So you can control the visibility of this site boundary, and you can use the site boundary to get started with the geometry, your conceptual design. All right, this is how you get started. Now let's go back to my presentation. And the next thing to know is that within Rhino, you can control the visibility of all these imported Forma contexts by managing the visualization of the different layers. So the list of Forma layers are right below the load site data button. And you can use the little eye to switch on and off the layers associated with that. Notice also that you have right now, the context comes in as a reference link, but if there are parts of the geometry that you need to bake into Rhino, you can do it using the bake tool. Now, the other thing is that I'm going to show you two scenarios here. A scenario where you start the geometry in Rhino, and then you send the Rhino geometry into Forma for further development. And the other scenario is where you start the geometry using 3D Sketch in Forma, and then send the Forma buildings into Rhino. Something really important in Rhino is that Forma only supports watertight manifold geometry. So you need to be careful about building closed solids, check for naked edges or standalone surfaces to avoid display issues, display representations in Forma. There are some commands in Rhino that allow you to do that. For example, there's the check command or the showed edges commands that are ways to check that the geometry you create in Rhino is properly, can be displayed properly in Forma environment. You can also split the Rhino files in different layers if you want to individually segregate different geometries in the Forma environment. So notice in the screen, I have a conceptual design drawing with different masses clustered by different uses. And then when you split the geometry this way, these different pieces of geometry can be individually selected in the Forma environment. All right, so here is the, I'm going to quickly do here, let's see what, I'm going to draw a very simple solid in Rhino. This is just a simple box, and notice that it's in the building A layer. And then using the plugin, I select what layer I need to send into Rhino, into Forma, sorry, and then map the Forma layer if it comes to. 90–80% of everything you do will be on the generic layer. If you have trees, you put in vegetation, and constraints are more for site boundaries and site envelope, maximum envelopes. So I'm going to keep it in generic, and then I send the layer into Forma. So I'm going to get a big box sent into Forma, and a way to refresh it in Forma is to reload the proposal. You can click the reload tool, or you can click F5 to refresh the browser in Chrome. And this is going to appear as a new building. Depending on how complex the geometry in Forma is, then the longer it takes. Another thing I want to mention very quickly is that Forma has a lot of different type of contextual data, and you can use this app, which is a web app, to find out what are the different sources of contextual data available in your country, with the different providers, explanations of the attributions, and rights of using the data. All right, let's see here. Here is the imported Rhino geometry, and this Rhino geometry can be converted into a 3D sketch, where I can add floors and add different usages, etc. And I can continue looking at the different metrics reported in Forma and continue my schematic design in Forma as needed. All right, that's scenario number one, where you start in Rhino and then you move into Forma. Let's do another scenario where we start a project in Forma, but we send it to Rhino. So I'm going to open this other proposal, and I'm going to delete in this scenario, in the Rhino element, I'm going to delete these. Okay, so here I have a pre-populated the site with 3D sketches. You can add more if you need it. I'm not going to get into details for Q&A for time purposes. But I have a 3D sketch, very simple 3D sketch created in Forma, and now I need to load it into the project. So all I need to do is refresh the proposals, the list of proposals, because I switched to another one. I switch to this 3D Forma sketch. And then I'm going to load site data. And this is going to move. The existing context is going to be refreshed. It's not going to be replaced. It's not going to create duplicate context information. But anything that's new, the delta of new geometry, will be brought into Rhino as a reference information. And it will be clustered under a layer called generic. Like this layer called generic is the layer that contains the proposals. And if I need to continue the exploration in Rhino, I can bake it and make it a mesh that is accessible in Rhino. Unfortunately, right now, you don't have a capability to convert it into solid, but inside Rhino, you can convert a mesh into NURBS. And if you need to troubleshoot, there are different ways to rebuild boundaries when they don't come across neatly. But that is how you go when you start from Forma and then you continue design in Rhino. All right, I'm going to quickly jump to the last demo, which is we're going to move a conceptual design into Forma and run it through different set of analysis, including sun hours, daylight, noise, microclimate, PV potential. We find design issues, identify them, and then optimize and iterate the design in Rhino and resend it to Forma for further analysis. This is the process that helps us, activate the process. And so here I have a in, let me jump into my Rhino file, my Forma file, and jump into a proposal that has an imported Rhino file. For some reason, this is taking longer than expected, maybe because I'm using the internet. Wait a second. So I'm not sure why it's taking so long, but I have another, I have the board ready here. This is once the design is finalized, you can drag and drop all your different analysis into the board and use the board as a way to communicate to your stakeholders your design decision, the history of the design. You can create presentations with clusters of analysis that tells the story of your project. And you can create frames that are presented in sequence. Need to finish them reloading, but Forma is the place to consolidate all the design information, the history of the process, and present it to the client. So I'm not sure what happened with this one because it didn't reload. Sorry about that. Let me refresh it, but I'm looking at the clock and we're getting close to the end. I'm going to show the final result at the end. So how do I access Forma? If you have an AEC collection, you already have Forma, just mainly to enabling the entitlement. You can also have a 30-day trial. Educators and students can have it for free. And you can also buy it as a standalone. Here are some useful links that help you understand how the workflow is, and Amira is pasting it. And I'm going to close this session with a very quick poll. I realize that I don't have a lot of time for Q&A, but please let us know what other features you would like to see featured in this webinars. We're thinking interoperability is a big one. Another one with Rhino, with Rabbit will be, is high in the list. So stay tuned for more. And let me jump quickly to my design files here. Here is a Rhino file that was brought to a site where we can use the compare tool to analyze the impacts and trade-off of two different types of analysis. This analysis can be drag and drop into the board, and it can inform your design decisions, and where you can review using data the design direction, make changes in Rhino, go back, re-import it. So the workflow is intended to support your authoring work in whatever tool you want, in this example, Rhino, and load that information into Forma for further analysis. All right, let's see if there's any question that's important. And Robin and Mira, let me know if there's anything you want me to respond live. Let's see here if there's anything I can read. I don't see anything in the chat panel and the Q&A. There's a question from Jacob. Plans for a Grasshopper connector. There is already one extension that supports this. It's called Skydiver. Skydiver, yeah, I think that is. And try it. Just go into extensions. I think it's here. Switch to site design, and in the extension, which open the marketplace, you will find an extension called Skydiver. Sorry, my format is getting slow. Well, here's the imported Rhino import that I was trying to do earlier, and it just took a little more time. Let's see other question here. Is there a way to select the numerical data from a proposal back into Grasshopper and Dynamo? The data, it's we're currently working in the ability to harvest a lot of analytical data. If you check the extensions, we have a Dynamo package for Forma that allow me to access metric data, and that's currently available on market. But very soon, very shortly, we will be releasing APIs that allow us to harvest environmental data and be able to migrate downstream to other applications as well. Same thing here. I think there's a question on how much detail Rhino. Oops, it disappeared. All right, I know it's 9:04, so feel free to disengage. I'll stay for a couple of minutes answering some questions. And again, you will receive a copy of this webinar at by the end of the day today or tomorrow. And if you have additional question, feel free to connect with me directly on my email or log into the QR code on the screen to continue the conversation on the forums, where we will post the recording as well. Here's a question from Maya. How did you get such a detailed Rhino model in Forma? Is there a limit how big your Rhino file can be when integrated with Forma? It's the level. There's no limitation of how much level of details you want to get into. Forma has the ability to import a Rhino file in whatever state it is, but there's for analytical purposes, there's a limitation of 150,000 polygons. And I need to get back to you and check what happens when we exceed that threshold, but the recommended geometrical limit is that. All right, thank you for looking forward for APIs. Yes, stay tuned. That's a big announcement coming up. We cannot say when, but it's on the works. There's a limitation that comes with Forma floors. There are some limitations regarding importing Forma geometry into Rhino and then continue working in Rhino, but not the other way around. The limitations are based on the conversion of a mesh into nerve SERPs. And you can try it, but on your end, when you bring a Forma geometry that is complex from Forma into Rhino, it is displayed as a mesh. And if you work with meshes, you know that meshes are a little ugly when it comes to manipulating original primitives. And so the conversion of a mesh into nerve SERPs, more often than not, it works, but sometimes it generates additional triangulations that were not computed in the original Forma primitive. and that triangulation hinders the proper representation of the mesh into proper Rhino objects. And for that purpose, we sometimes have to recreate those spaces again, and there are commands in Rhino that help you do that. But yes, that's one of the limitations in all transparency. All right, I'm past the time for more than 5 minutes. I'm going to close the webinar right now. Hope this was useful for you guys. Looking forward for your additional questions, and stay tuned for future webinars. Have a great rest of the day.